Hi, hi. So today's testimony is brought to you from God, per usual, but in the bed. and He actually gave me this testimony on behalf of the new kind of series that we're doing at Wealthy Employees. So Wealthy Employees is my business where we break that narrative and belief that you cannot build wealth in the workplace. So and that you can't build wealth without entrepreneurship, which is a complete lie. But anyway, so um, in our new Wednesday and Thursdays emails, we're doing wealthy wisdom and we're doing financially fit. And so what we've been going over is insurances and how we leverage that in order to make sure that we're obviously protecting our assets, right? Because when you're building wealth, it doesn't you don't want to start all over if something unfortunate happens, right? I mean, that's why insurance was created, to protect your assets so that you don't have to start all over again, right? So you protect them with a fraction of the cost. And so God reminded me of the testimony that we've had, which was amazing because I just spoke to somebody about this the other day, like legit, probably a couple weeks before he reminded me of this. So, and it's fitting for the season. I don't really call it a season. Listen, people be talking about, I live in Florida, and so hurricane season is whenever to whenever. Honestly, it used to be, I think, May to November, and then there was a hurricane like in November or something like that. So it's kind of like now they moved it to like December or something. I don't even know. Either way, I don't really follow that too much because I just believe that, I mean, there's years where there's absolutely no hurricane, and then there's years where, we've had like three in a row. So, either way, there was a year when we were living in Daytona. There was a couple of years actually where we were living in Daytona, and there were hurricanes, and there were people without insurance, renters insurance, because at the time when we were living in Daytona, we were renters. And he just reminded me of his grace, y'all, his grace and his hand covering us. So I'm gonna take y'all through these testimonies, but before I do that, make sure to like and subscribe so that you can see more of me, maybe not in the bed, but maybe in the bed. And hear more of God's goodness all over my channel. Okay, so the first hurricane that I'm going to talk about is Harvey. It was Harvey. Yes, it was Harvey. So I don't remember when Harvey hit Daytona, but we decided to leave because Harvey was, I don't know, probably a category 4 hurricane. And I mean, just to preface, let me preface and say that born and raised in the county of Dade, so I have known hurricanes all my life. Okay, I literally slept through Hurricane Andrew, per my mother. Even though things were all over the house, rattling, noise, and all that stuff, I slept through it. So I have known hurricanes all of my life. I'm the next hurricane that I'm gonna talk about is the one that actually shooketh me a bit out of all of my years on this earth dealing with hurricanes. So not Harvey, but the one I'm gonna talk about after. So Brandon and I both born and raised in the county of Dade. And so we've never put up shutters at our house, just FYI too. Like at my mama's house, we never put up shutters. Never boarded anything, never put up shutters, never. And I think Brandon used to do at his parents' house, but we never did. And also we were living in Daytona. I was working at the leasing office of where we lived. So I was living where I was working, or working where I was living. Anyway, so I had keys, okay? I had access. So either way, right? We are living on the first floor at this time. We're living in our 2-2, and Ciroc is with us at this time as well. We've had Ciroc, and so we're hearing about this category 4 hurricane. So Cat 4 hurricane, really when they get to Cat 3, that's when people like Floridians. That's when Floridians, Miamians. That's when we start like, okay, maybe this could be something. You know what I mean? But I think even now more so because of how how like all the building up and things like that have affected the way that flooding and all of that stuff is occurring in Florida. I think that people are actually a little bit more cautious now, for even lower categories, because I don't know if y'all remember, but it was one day when the whole of the Fort Lauderdale airport was like flooded, and I was like shooketh because that was crazy, right? And then there was tornadoes down there one time where my best friend said like it went through not her backyard, but like the person like a couple blocks down, like their backyard, and I was like, bruh, I ain't never. Okay, I mean, Brendan and I have seen water spouts, so we have actually seen a water spout on the beach one day. We used to chill at the beach when we was down in Miami, when we was living down in Miami, and we actually seen a water spout in Holland, not Hollandale. Was it Hollandale? It was Hollywood. I'm pretty sure it was Hollywood Beach, because we didn't go to Hollandale. We went to Hollywood Beach or Hollandale. I can't remember. Anyway, whatever. One of them days we see one of them beaches. We seen a water spout one day. So we know that they were down there, but we've never actually heard of an actual tornado going through. And this was Hollywood, where my best friend lives. So going through Florida, period, like in Hollywood down the south or whatnot. So either way, all of that to preface to say, right? Harvey was, I think, a 3 or 4 or something like that, right? And so we were like, you know what? Since we're in an apartment, we're on the bottom floor, we don't really know how this is going to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, we was like, we'll just go ahead and evacuate. And we ain't really like evacuate. Like, we didn't go back to Miami. We went to Orlando, actually, with my uncle and my aunt at their house. And when we came back, the only thing that happened, thank God, but it sucked. The only thing that happened is somebody actually broke into our house. So our apartment. So before we left, I made sure to video record everything that was in the apartment, right? Mainly because I was more so thinking hurricane damage. Obviously, we weren't thinking about somebody breaking into our apartment, but we were thinking about hurricane damage. And so for insurance purposes, you want to make sure that you have everything documented of what was in the apartment. So before we left, I made sure to record everything that was in the apartment. Now, we came back, and like I said, thank God, when we checked the apartment, the only thing that was missing out of the apartment was Brennan's PlayStation. And that bothered me so much because me, his mama, and his sister went in to buy him this PlayStation for his birthday. It was special. It was specially wrapped. I made sure to get like a Nintendo. What is it? That vinyl, like a old school Nintendo throwback, Nintendo vinyl on it, and his controller was wrapped in it too. It was so dope, right? I have a whole video and recording of it. But anyway. So either way, police report was filed and all that other stuff. And this is where renter's insurance came into place, right? They were obviously willing to replace it, but our deductible, I think, was $500 or something like that. And so it wouldn't make any sense to replace it because I was like, well, a new one is pretty much $500. So we might as well just go buy a new one, right? I think it was that. I can't remember exactly these numbers, but I know that we started the claim, but we didn't actually go through it because it just didn't make any sense. Whatever the deductible was versus the cost of the PlayStation just didn't make any sense, right? And I don't even think they took games. I think they only like legit took the actual PlayStation and the controller. So whatever game was in it, and I can't remember what game was in it, that was all they had. So either way, I was like, you know what? We'll just get another one, right? But in regards to what happened to the rest of the apartments, there was one building in particular, right? And this is why renter's insurance is so important. So if y'all don't have renter's insurance and you are renting, You need to go get renter's insurance, okay? And this was a warning. I really believe that this was a warning for the one to come, right? So Hurricane Harvey was a lot of wind. It was very windy. It obviously rained, but it wasn't like heavy rain, if you would. It wasn't a lot of rain. It was more so a lot of wind. The winds were very strong. And so Hurricane Harvey, for the building that was next to ours, so perpendicular to ours, because the buildings were I mean, it's an apartment complex, so their buildings are facing, east, west, all the different directions. So our building faced, let me not lie to you because I don't know, but our building faced one direction, and this building, the back of this building was facing the side of ours. Okay, so perpendicular. Okay, just think of a T. Our building was the line, the bottom part of the T, and then theirs was the top of the T, right? And their roof was gone, legit caved in, right? Now these buildings are old, so I should have added this in the beginning too, but this apartment complex, it was right on the river, right on a river, a big river. Okay, it was a big river. It was wide. It was a wide river, and it was literally right on the river. Okay, it was a very nice view. Of course, everybody wanted the river view and everything. There was very few apartments that kind of had the river view. We had the river view when we walked out of the apartment, but not actually from the apartment, which was fine to me. But it was a very nice apartment, and ours was a nice apartment and everything. Ours was upgraded, and yeah, but the buildings were very old. I can't remember when this apartment complex was built, but it was old, right? It was an older building. It was an older apartment complex, and there was like 220 something of them. I think over 200 apartments, in there, or 60 something. So it was a big apartment complex, right? And like I said, this building was kind of towards I guess you would say the end of the middle. And when I tell y'all, this roof, I only seen pictures. I didn't go up there, but the roof was gone. Like, you can literally see from outside of the building, you could see some of the roof hanging over the building. So the two apartments at the top of it were shot. I seen pictures from the inside, and the bed was just covered in the roof. There was literally a hole in the roof. So Harvey took the whole roof off of this building. Now, I don't know. I know. Actually, I do know. I remember they did not have renter's insurance. And this was a family. I remember it was a mother and a daughter specifically. I think that they had children too, but I know that they evacuated. Thank God they did, because yeah, that would have been a hot mess. Like, Lord. So when they came back, of course, they're like, well, what are y'all going to pay for and all this other stuff? And we're like, we don't pay for anything. like the insurance, and I don't think that a lot of people understand this, is that the insurance for the buildings or that the company holds is for their stuff, their buildings, their windows, their appliances, their cabinets, their toilets. That's what it's for. It's not for your belongings. None of your belongings are covered in the insurance policy for the actual company or the apartment complex. So it's important for you to have your own insurance. So they were just like, what do you mean? Like, this is all of our stuff, and these buildings were old and blah blah blah, and the roof wasn't done or whatever. And I don't remember, but I know some of the roofs would leak. The ACs were on top of the roofs and stuff like that. But again, it's an old complex, right? You have old buildings, you're gonna be working with older stuff, right? And obviously nobody was anticipating a whole roof to fall in or cave in, right? So, and it was just this one building. I know another building had really bad roof damage, but it didn't actually go through into the apartments. So yeah, so they were just like complaining, but they were really like it sucked. There's no other way to put it. It really did. It really did suck. But like I said, and so they obviously had to move out. I can't remember if they moved out or if they moved into a different apartment. I'm pretty sure they moved out completely. I'm almost certain they moved out completely. But it just like, it was just like, it was scary thinking, dang, like the roof can cave in, which I'm not a big fan of second floor apartments anyway. I know people don't like first floor for various reasons. One of the reasons, obviously, you can get broken into a lot easier. And obviously people stepping over your head, but for me, I don't like heights, and I prefer not to fall through somebody else's floor. So, I don't know. For me, I don't do second. I don't do 2 stories. Okay, I just prefer to be on the floor. Um, so our homes are all 1 story, 1 story homes, right? Needless to say, and so either way, the insurance came through. It didn't come through for us in this case because it was only one thing that was, thank God, that was missing. But the insurance would have came through for those that family had they actually had it, right? So again, God graced us and blessed us in that case, and definitely confirmed that renter's insurance is absolutely necessary, right? So then I don't know if this was a year later or maybe that same year. I don't know. Don't remember. I ain't look it up, clearly. But Hurricane Irma came after Harvey. This hurricane here, y'all, it has been, I think, and I don't, like I said, I don't be following these hurricanes like that, but I'm sure, like 90% sure, that this is the largest hurricane recorded thus far, right? And this has been since Hurricane Andrew, which was in the 90s, which again I slept through. But Hurricane Andrew has been the top dog for, again, over 30 years, right? Or almost 30 years at that point, I don't remember. But now Hurricane Irma came, and it literally, I remember looking at the what's that thing called? The weather report. And I'm gonna put this on the charger, y'all, because it's clearly dying. I remember looking at the weather report, and what happened was that this hurricane was so big that it pretty much took up all of Florida. So regardless of where you were in Florida, you were going to get hit by it one way or another, right? Because it was just that big. It was literally huge. It was a huge, huge, huge storm. And so I remember Brennan and we was chilling, vibing, whatnot. And we prepared-ish kind of for this hurricane, right? Brennan went to go get sandbags because he was like, maybe some sandbags would, help, because from Harvey. So another thing that happened with Harvey, even though it wasn't a lot of rain, our apartment did leak a little bit from, I think they're called trusses. I don't even know, whatever. But in between the first and second floor, whatever the beams were, it was like leaking down there by the sliding glass door. We had 2 sliding glass doors. There was one in the living room and one in the master. And so the one by the living room was like leaking, and it was like a small leak. Again, it wasn't nothing huge, but obviously we knew because we did the recording before we left. So anyway, so for this one, we were like, okay, well, if there is more rain or whatever the case is, we want to make sure that, there's no water that comes into the apartment. So he got sandbags for the front door. And I think he got them for the back as well. The back sliding door, I think. One of the sliding doors. I can't remember. But I know for sure they were out in the front, by the front door. And so we also went and got the bed risers. So I don't know if y'all know what those are, but the bed risers are essentially, they're like yay big. They could be different sizes, but they go under the bed frame to rise up the bed, right? And so we bought a pack, I think like 2 packs of those or something like that. And so what we put them on was we had a trundle bed set. So the twin beds that we had, they were on a trundle. So one of them was low, one of them was high. We didn't put it on there. So we raised up our trundle. So the trundle, I know some trundle beds, they don't raise, they just come out. But this one, it raised up, so the actual mechanism popped up the trundle bed so that it was of regular bed frame height or whatever. So we popped that one up, and then there was, what else did we put on these trusses? I know we put the couch. We only put half of the couch. So we have a sectional, and the sectional is still here today. We put half of it up because we wanted to put something else up. And I can't remember what we put up on the other. I don't remember. I don't know, but I know we did half of the couch, right? I remember half of the couch was set up. That's all I can remember. And we may have risen up. I don't think we did though. No, we didn't. I remember that. I don't know what else we rose up. Honestly, I can't remember, y'all. Whatever. We rose up something else, obviously, that we thought was important. Maybe our bed. I think our bed, we rose up on the bed risers because our bed was on a low profile bed. So it wasn't obviously high. So I think that we actually raised up on. I'm pretty sure that's what we raised up on. So it was our bed and then the half of the couch. Whatever. And so that's pretty much all we did. And then Brendan checked the weather. He went outside to go check the river and everything. And then we went to sleep. And it was like, when we went to sleep, I don't remember what time it was, but it was probably like maybe 11, 12-ish or whatnot. And the river was not high. So it usually maintained like a, based on the, what is that thing? I think it's called the bedrock or whatever, or the retaining wall. So the retaining wall, it kind of usually stayed around the middle part, which I guess is what it's supposed to do. It usually got around the middle part. Sometimes it would get really low where it would literally create like a beach where you could walk down the retaining wall and actually like walk down on there. I have videos of that too with Ciroc. But sometimes it would get really high where it was like, it felt like it was like maybe 2 feet away from the retaining wall. So I think this one was pretty low. I think that's what he said. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like, we're good. So he was like, all right, well, we'll go to sleep. We go to sleep. And Brendan he tells me that he wakes up and he is thinking that Ciroc is drinking water. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. So then he gets up. I guess he kind of falls back asleep and gets back up again. And he's still hearing this water noise. And so he's thinking again, Ciroc is like really like drinking all this water. So he gets up out of the bed to like go tell Ciroc to go sit down or something. I don't know, whatever. And he said he stepped into water. His whole foot was covered in water. So that's when he wakes me up. He's like, boo, you got to get up. You got to put on, here's your shoes. Like, get up and put on your shoes. And I'm like, what am I putting on my shoes for? Like, what are you talking about right now, boy? Like, am I just like 2 o'clock in the morning? It's like 2:30 in the morning. And I'm like, bro, like, I'm not, what? And he's like, boo, you got to get up, wake up, put on your shoes. So I put on my shoes, and again, the floor is covered in water. The entire floor is covered in water. And by this time, like I said, his whole foot was covered. So it was probably about like maybe 3-4 inches in there of water, right? Throughout the entire apartment. So I'm like, bro, what? How? What? Why is all this water in the apartment, right? And so we're looking around, and so he said he got up, and Ciroc was like floating on his bed. He was like trying to balance on his bed as his bed started floating. But at that point, when I got out of bed, Ciroc was already out and he was trying to follow me, right? And so I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, so what do we do? How do we get this water out of this apartment? Like, what are we like doing? And so he's just like, he was like, I don't really know, but you could, I don't know, whatever. So I'm just like, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. We never flooded before. So I'm like, okay, well, let me get some rock up out of the water because I don't want him in the water, but he's not trying to stay. So I'm like, Ciroc, get on the couch. So he gets on the couch, but he's not supposed to be on the couch. So, and he's like also freaking out. So he don't want to stay on the couch. So he gets on the couch, but he don't get on but he gets off of it right away. So I'm like, okay, whatever. You do whatever you want to do because clearly you're not listening to me and you want to be in the water. Whatever. So he goes and he is, hold on, y'all. Okay. So he is whatever. He doing whatever he want to do. Right. And so then we come and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start getting a bucket or a garbage can. And I'm like, I'm just going to start dumping the water into the toilet and into the tub or whatever the case is. Obviously, it's not working. It's flooded. So if there's 3-4 inches inside our apartment, there's a lot more water outside, right? So obviously it's not going anywhere. I mean, I didn't flush the toilet or anything, but it's not going anywhere because all of the drainage is backed up because it's flooded. So I'm just like, okay, this is not working. So Brendan is like, well, we're going to have to get out, right? And I'm just like, bruh, get out and go where? Like, where are we going? Where are we going? He's like, I'm just going to, I'm going to try to get out. But and mind you, we didn't have a truck. We ain't had a truck at this point. We only had Papa and Skull, right? Which is Brendan, Monty, and my car. And my car, I'm kind of like freaking out low key a little bit about because my car is over at one of our, he was our officiant at our wedding. It's over at his condo on the beach, right? And I'm like, bro, like if it's flooded over here, I can just imagine how much water is over there on the beach, right? But the thing with the condos is that they have some sort of drainage system where if it gets into the garage, it starts to drain. Like there's literally like a vacuum or whatever that drains out the water. So whatever, my car is over there, but I'm not too worried about my car. I mean, I crossed my mind, but I'm not like freaking out about it. So anyway, so then I'm like, okay, all right, well, where are we going to go? Because Papa is low. He's lower than my car, I think. And so I'm like, how is Papa? Papa can't drive us out of here. So where are we going? So then I remembered that there was an apartment that was just vacated, or not just vacated. Well, yeah, pretty much recently vacated right upstairs. So not the one directly above us, but the one above the apartment across from us. So I was like, okay, well, obviously I can get in. I'm the leasing agent. I have the key to get into the vacant apartments. So I was like, okay, we'll go up there. Because I'm like, Brendan, we can't go nowhere else. Like, we can't drive, right? So before he goes to the door, I'm looking out the living room sliding door. When I tell y'all, every time, because the power's out, so there's no power, there's no light back there. But every time lightning struck, I seen how much water was out there. And Brendan already kind of cracked the door, so he already knew that there was going to be water coming in. But there was, like, y'all don't understand. Like, it was a lot. Like, the river was the street, okay? Like, the river was that high in the back. So in the back, it was legit. I don't even know, like, it would have been almost thigh up to my thighs, right? Looking out from the back, from what I could see, I was like, yo, there's a lot of water out here. Like, there's a lot of water. So we go. So he's like, all right, well, I'm going to open this door, but you know that there's going to be water that comes in here. Like, I already cracked. He told me, he was like, I already cracked it, but there's going to be water that comes in here. So just, kind of grab whatever we can and just go. So I'm grabbing the sheets off of the bed because all the rest of the sheets are in are in our closet on the floor. Not in our closet, but in the second bedroom's closet on the floor. So I'm like, well, all those are gone. They're shot. So I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and let's go and get, I just grabbed some sheets and then the pillows, and that was pretty much it because there was really nothing else. Phone chargers, I think, and that was it. And so the water, y'all, to step into our house, there was like a good, whatever this is, right? 4 inches to get into the house. So already we're almost at what, six inches just between getting into our house and what was in our house. And then there was more water coming in the house. So this is just to tell you how high this water was, right? So he was like, are you ready? I was like, no, not really, but I mean, I can't do nothing about it. So he opens up the door. Sandbags, what sandbags? Okay, they're not there. They're gone, completely gone. Right? They're washed away. And it was like a good 4, 5, 6 baby bags out there, right? Because again, there's a height. So there's a step. So anyway, all the sandbags, every last one of them gone, right? And hence the reason why water was coming in, because the door, when the wind blew, the door was shaking. So it was letting in water little by little. So I'm like, okay, what the heck are we going to do? Because now we got about a foot of water into our apartment now. Now it's high. It's high. And I'm like, what are we going to, okay, we're going to go upstairs. What are we doing? So Brandon goes out there first. And again, this is the river water. This is river water where there are dolphins and manatees that I've seen with my own eyes swimming in this water. Okay. So again, it's not like it's just regular water, right? It's brackish water is what it's called. So it's salt and fresh water mixed. So I'm like, okay, hopefully there ain't nothing in here that's about to bite me or Brandon or whatever. So we tried to get Ciroc to go out there. Ciroc is not having it, okay? He is not having it. So Brandon has to pick him up and carry him up the stairs. He carries him up the stairs onto the landing, opens the door, let him in. So then Brennan comes back down to carry me. So he has his firefighter. I think he doesn't have his firefighter boots. I think he was going to, no, I don't remember. Anyway, but he picks me up and he carries me in, because now the boots that I have are just a little bit above ankle boots. So they're really not that much to cover me. So if I would have stepped in that water, my shoes would have been completely flooded, because now almost in the apartment, my shoes were almost flooded. So he picked me up and he got me to the steps, and then I, obviously went upstairs and whatnot. And then he passed me the blankets and stuff like that. And so we slept on the floor in the apartment above. Now, it was freaking terrible sleeping upstairs, because now Harvey done happened, and remember, the roof done flew off of one of the building right next to us. So I'm thinking Lord, please don't let this roof fall off. Please don't let it go. Just protect it, because that's all I'm hearing now. Downstairs, we hear the wind, but we ain't hear the wind like that. But upstairs, you hear that wind. And so I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm just laying there because I am having a hard time falling asleep. And I'm like, I pray this roof does not come out. So, or cave in. So finally we kind of go off to sleep, right? And then we're awakened by this man over a megaphone. And I'm like, am I tripping? Or do you hear that too? And he's like, no, I hear that. And I'm like, who is that? What? Because now it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, who is out here with a megaphone? What is going on? So we look out the window, and we see all the cars. First of all, some of the cars are legit horizontal in the parking lot, because the water, again, it just flooded everything. So the cars are, some of them are horizontal, some of them are slanted in the parking spots. And we just see this big old black van. And it's so if y'all remember, the easiest way that I could describe it, because it's It legit looked like this. So if y'all seen the Fast and Furious one where what's her name, the black lady was introduced into it, she where she was on that bus, black whatever, that van thing where they had to come get her out of, that is exactly what it looked like. It was like a bus like that, like an armored kind of bus. And so you can just hear him. He's through the megaphone. He's like, if anybody needs any protection or wants to evacuate, please come out now. We'll be here for the next whatever 5 minutes or something like that. Blah blah blah. If anybody wants to evacuate, please come out here now. And I'm just like, yo, you gotta be kidding me. Like, are we in a movie or something? Because what? And then we're obviously we not going nowhere. Because I'm like, I'm definitely not going into no black van that look like, something straight out of a movie where the evil people always be having it. And I was like, no, we're not going anywhere, right? And so we didn't go nowhere. We finally fell asleep. Wake up in the morning, probably 8 o'clock, right? When I tell you, absolutely, it looks like it just rained outside. The river is perfectly fine. Birds are chirping. Everything just looks so beautiful, minus the car slanted in in the parking lot, right? All of it gone. All of it. And so first of all, what's so interesting is that I remember learning this on some channel. I think it was just perusing one day, and somebody was talking about the different sand and soil that's in different areas, which is why areas flood. And I think this was shortly after the hurricane that happened in Texas that flooded everything, and it's because their soil doesn't take in the water like the sand over here in Florida does. So it, like I said, matter of hours, and all of the water was gone. It looked like it just rained outside, right? So we go back down to our apartment, and we are just like, bro, like the water just barely almost touched all of the beds. So it obviously touched the bed frame, but it didn't touch the mattress. Like, I think one of the mattresses like had like a slight little bit of wetness on the bottom, but that's how high the water got in the apartment, y'all. Like I said, twin bed, I don't know, average whatever height of a bed frame, and it like just barely touched the bottom of that, right? We had an all-in-one washer and dryer, and it still worked. And we did not raise that up. And I don't know why the heck we did not raise that up, but we did not put that on risers. Maybe because it was freaking heavy. But I don't think the risers would have held it, but it survived. It literally gave out earlier this year. So January 2021, we in 2025, y'all. January 2025, it gave out. And this hurricane, again, I don't even know when it was, but it just gave out. So after being in brackish water, 6 inches covered, and all of the mechanics of that is at the bottom of those all-in-one washers. If you don't know, they're at the bottom of the washer. So God graced us, okay, with this. Now, what we did lose was our computers, our laptops. So Brennan's was older, so we weren't really too concerned about his, but mine was like new-ish. Like mine was like, I don't even know if it was like a year old, right? So I had a newer computer, and I was like, Lord, like, what are we gonna do? All the other stuff we weren't really worried about. The couch, thank God, one of the half of the couch, it did get wet, obviously, and the other half, again, it just got slightly wet, but it didn't like ruin it because we had leather, so it wasn't like it wasn't it wasn't fabric because of Ciroc. That's why I don't like fabric stuff. I know our headboard is fabric, but whatever. Anyway, we don't like fabric stuff, and that's why. Because we didn't want it to soak up and stain and all the other stuff. So that was saved. I mean, most of the stuff, honestly, some of the stuff that's still here, like there's a night what's the thing called? Ottoman type thing, whatever, that's over there. It has some water damage on it, but it's over there. We had like a half moon table, we still have, and other stuff like but they were all like cheap stuff. They're not like, expensive stuff. The mattresses were the most expensive things, in addition to the couch. So the couch was the most expensive thing. Our mattress was the most expensive thing. And then the laptops. The laptops are really were the only things that we were worried about. And so we, of course, we started to call the insurance company because we were like, okay, well, $500, and if they can replace, because I knew mine was of more value obviously than Brandon's, but I was like, if they could replace it, that would be great, and we'll pay the $500, whatever, and we'll at least get the laptops, and if we wanted anything else, we'll get it. But like the all-in-one washer, we did pay money for that. So the washer, the mattress, the couch, that was already $1,500 that we spent. But again, our mattress was safe because we put it on the risers. The couch we weren't worried about, because it just, half of it was fine. The other half, again, we just wanted to see if it would dry out, what it would look like, if it was actually ruined. And thank God, with the couches, like it has that, what is that? It's like a covering to protect the mechanisms under the couch. So just that part got wet, not the actual mechanism, not the actual pillows, or none of those stuff got wet. It was just the front foot part, I guess you would say, of the couch, and then like that sheer black covering part, again, that covers the mechanisms. So the couch was fine, and then the washer and dryer worked. I don't know, we still don't know how to this day this washer and dryer worked, but it worked, y'all. So this all-in-one washer and dryer, it worked. And so we only filed for the laptops because everything else was fine. Like I said, all the rest of the stuff was fine. There was really no, we weren't messed up about anything. We had a bookcase. We didn't care about that. That bookcase was like $50. We didn't care. Walmart bookcase. Obviously, we ain't had no nightstands because our laptops were on the floor. And so, yeah. But God came through in the testimony. I mean, for all of it, he saved he saved our apartment for the most part. Not our apartment, but a lot of our stuff. He covered us to be safe during that time. Papa still ran. Papa was slanted. He was one of them ones that was slanted in the parking lot, but Papa still ran. Okay, he was working perfectly fine. And so we really just needed the laptops. And so when we were hearing about everything, people were like, well, file for FEMA first because they may give you money. And of course, you don't have to pay a deductible for FEMA. So FEMA is the agency that helps out during hurricanes and stuff like that. And when I tell y'all God came through with FEMA, I just remember, I don't even know how much it was. I know it was over $2,000. But when I tell you that, because they were giving out food stamps as well. They were giving out food stamps and they were giving out money. And we only got the money. We didn't get the food stamps. But when I tell y'all that God covered us with that, over $2,000 for our laptops at that time. I mean, and my laptop wasn't like fancy or anything like that, because like I said, I just replaced it, but it was like probably like $700 or something like that. And Brenna's was, again, older, so it was more than enough for us to get good laptops, y'all. I just remember getting the check or getting the approval and just crying because I was just so grateful to God for covering us all through it all, right? And this was the most, I would say, the hardest time of working at the apartment complex, even though this was towards the end of my employment there. But it was the hardest time because there were so many people who did not have renter's insurance, that all of their stuff, everybody, so at that time, every single first floor apartment was evacuated. Every last one of them. Some people were like, but my apartment didn't flood. There's no water in there. Like, literally, there was nothing. It didn't matter. You had to evacuate because 9 times out of 10, the other building, the apartment maybe next to you probably flooded or whatever, some sort of damage. So every last one of it. So literally half of the apartment complex was empty, right? And people were just like, and mind you, this is it's a whole city, obviously it's the whole state, but even the sister properties got damaged. You know, they had trees. A lot of the sister properties had a lot of trees, and some of those trees came down. Some of them, like, they were already at capacity or whatever, like they were already full. They're smaller. We were the biggest apartment complex out of the sister properties. So for us to have to evacuate the entire first floor was a big thing. And so people were like, this is crazy. Y'all don't have any where for us to go. There's no sister properties, and y'all want to charge us more rent at the sister properties. And it's just like, we can't control that. Like, it was such a difficult time, because we were also, obviously trying to fix up our house, and I mean our apartment, and move our stuff and get our stuff out, as well as with everybody else that's moving and try to get stuff and clean up the area and stuff like that. But it was just like, it was very it was hard to watch people literally just like, I mean, they'd come in the office and they would just boo-hoo cry because they had nowhere to go. And we were giving back, obviously, security deposits, but I mean, it was just a tough time. So I was so grateful that God was able to provide for us in that manner, that we were able to just be able to go directly upstairs, and be covered at that time. So I know this was long, y'all, but I thank y'all for keeping with me. I just thank God for just covering us through that time, and through all of the times, through all the hurricanes that we've had. Thank God that we have never lost anything that couldn't be replaced. We just thank God for His grace and His mercy and His hand on us. So yeah, that is today's testimony. If y'all do not have renter's insurance, have renter's insurance, okay? And don't leave any electronics on the floor. Okay, don't leave any electronics on the floor or plugged in, okay? If y'all do leave it plugged in, make sure y'all have surge protectors. That was another thing. We lost our TV because of surge protectors. That was in this house. So that wasn't even with no hurricane. That was just like a random storm thing that happened, and it shorted out our TV, but it's okay. We got another one, y'all. But definitely get renter's insurance. Make sure you have enough coverage, y'all. Make sure you checking your deductibles, checking all of that, making sure you look to see if it's replacement cost versus actual cash value. Actual cash value means that they're only going to give you it minus, they're going to give you they're going to reimburse you for what it's worth at that time. So if it's a 10-year-old camera and the camera is pretty much on its last leg, they're going to give you the last amount of bit of money for that. If you have actual cash value, replacement costs, if you are covered for replacement costs, that means they will replace it at whatever a similar model is as of today. So if that camera again was 10 years old, but most of the features or whatever, a lower end camera is $300 as of now, that means that they would replace it for $300, even though it's probably only worth $50, right? So yeah, just check y'all insurances. Thank God for everything. I know that there are some natural disasters. I've heard of something that happened recently. I just read about something in Central Texas. So definitely praying for those people that had those flash floodings. Just be safe, y'all. If y'all do have flood insurance, look into it if y'all in a flood zone, especially with the way, again, that these buildings, that people are building up things. It changes when I tell y'all, it changes the way the water obviously sinks, because now it's going through concrete versus trying to go through grass and sand. So you may not have been in a flood zone, but definitely check it again, just to see if you need flood insurance, because unfortunately, flood insurance, regular insurance or homeowner's insurance or whatever the case is, doesn't cover floods. So yeah. If y'all have any questions, leave comments, email me. Go check out Wealthy Employees, wealthyemployees.com. Hello at Wealthy Employees. Also, we have a YouTube channel, so y'all can go look at Wealthy Employees. Follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Instagram, all of those good stuff, and follow me on all platforms. I will see y'all on the next today's testimony. Bye.